Hello, and in this video you'll learn to create this modern website that uses good UI and UX, interesting geometrical figures, and a static background or parallax effect. Without further ado, let's begin. First thing we'll need to do is create a new folder on our desktop. Modern website. And drag this folder into your Visual Studio Code. Open full screen and go to View and Terminal. The first command you'll run is npm create vite at latest. / will mean that the project will be created in this specific directory. Enter. Choose React, then choose JavaScript, and the next command you'll run is npm install. This should take about 20 or 30 seconds. Once this is done, you'll run npm run dev. This will simply initialize the application and you'll be able to see it on your screen. Control-click onto this link and you'll see a template for a website that was given to us by Vite and React. Before actually creating the application, we'll need to install a library and create the file and folder structure. The library we're going to use is Tailwind CSS. .com/docs/guides/vite. You can go to this website. And we'll be using some of these commands. First of all, let's copy this one. Stop our terminal by running Ctrl-C. And enter this. This should not take long, only a few seconds. While it's going on, we can run this command, npx tailwind css init-p. This will be used to initialize the config files for Tailwind CSS. And now it's done. We can go into Tailwind config and paste this. So this file, and in here replace everything with this. So we're saying that we can use everything that's inside of index.html. And essentially our whole application is inside there. And finally, we can go to index.css inside our source folder, remove everything and replace it with these 3 lines. Now, if you run the application, there shouldn't be any styles. As you can see, most of the styles are gone. However, if we go to app.jsx, for example, remove everything because we don't need any of this, and say h1 class name text dash 50 pixels text dash red dash 500, and for example saying hello, we can see that Tailwind CSS is initialized. Now onto the file and folder structure. We can go back to our application and first of all remove app.css, we will not need that, and remove all the imports from app.jsx. Next, in the source folder, we'll create a components folder. In this folder, we will have a navbar.jsx. We can run RAFC here. To do this, you can use this extension. Once you're here, you can create another file called footer.jsx. Same thing, RAFC. Next, left details.jsx. RAFC as before, and right details.jsx. And one final part will be hero.jsx. These should be all of our components, RAFC and RAFC in all of these. Next, we'll create a file in the components folder called index.js. Here we'll import all of these components and then export them from one place. So import navbar from navbar, import hero from hero, import left details from left details, import right details from right details, and import footer from footer. Now we can export all of these components. Export navbar, hero, left details, right details, and footer. We can go to app.jsx, remove the rest of the lines, and put them all here. So the navbar, the hero, next the left details, the right details, and finally the footer. As you can see, because I pressed Enter, tab next each time, it automatically imported all of these components from the components folder, not each individual file, which is exactly what we wanted. As if you're going to add more components later, it is much easier to add them this way. Now, if we go back to our application, we should see all of this text over here. So our components are actually there. For now, they're just text, so we only see text. But here, everything is working. The first component we're going to work on is our navbar, the top component. So once in our app.jsx, we can first of all make this a div and give it just one class name. Overflow dash hidden. This will prevent any sideways scrolling. Next, in our navbar, we can say class name, div, class name, bg-black. That's going to be the theme of our website, black and blue, and w-screen, say 300 pixels for now. A little too much, so we're going to make it at most 200. Yeah, this should do. And let's remove this and go into this div. First of all, we're going to have a logo. So we can say import react from assets / react.svg. Everyone will have this file in their assets folder already by default. And for now, we can say image source React to see if this works. As you can see, we have the small React image, which is going to act as our logo. You can also import some images that I've linked in the video description. I've already put them in here, there's not a lot, but they'll be very useful for the website. Alright, let's continue with our navbar. What I'll do first is paste in some code. This is quite a lot of styles, but essentially what it does is creates a triangle, like this. First of all, we'll change its positioning. The positioning is absolute. So, to change this, we'll go over here and say top dash 90 pixels. 90 pixels because the entire navbar is 200 pixels. Then we subtract border dash b, which is its height, and we get our 90 pixels. And as you can see, here we have the triangle. I believe we should make it smaller, so we can say 80 pixels over here, which is the height. Make this 120 and 120, which configures the edges. So now it's significantly smaller, but not positioned exactly correctly because of how it changed. So we can do that, 100 pixels, 120 pixels, and yeah, this should be correct. And now we can add more triangles to this. So we can simply copy this and paste it under. Nothing will change because, well, we've pasted another triangle in the same exact position. What we'll do is actually remove all of these positioning things. They're only useful for the sensor. And say style. What style allows us to do is position these elements more precisely to the decimal of a percentage. So we can say right, and in here, for example, 40%. Now it's positioned over here. We can say less to the right, for example, 35%. And I think this should be good. But they overlap and it doesn't look particularly good, so we'll add some opacity over here. So opacity dash 70. So now it has some opacity. Then we can copy this and make a triangle to the left. So left 35%. And we'll add one final set of triangles to the left and right. So we can say this and this and position it differently. Here, for example, 25% and 25%. Or we could make a little more, so 28 and 28. We'll also add some more opacity. So 50 and 50. So now we have this pretty cool design. We can also add some triangles to the bottom of our triangles, some upside down triangles. To do this, we could copy the first triangle, paste it under here so we understand it's a different triangle, and simply change B to T over here, and do the same thing over here. Now we have an upside down triangle, but not positioned too well. So what we'll do is position it more to the top. So for example, 200 pixels. And what we'll also do is give it more width, significantly more width. For example, 250 pixels and 250 pixels. At the same time, we'll give it less height. At most 40, and this should be good. Another cool detail we can add is the exact same triangle, but with slightly more height and a bunch of opacity. So opacity dash 40. So this slight triangle looks quite well. And this part of the navbar is done. Now let's make the navbar actually look like a navbar. Let's go back over here into the wrapper div. And here we can say flex dash arrow, justify dash center. Then we can go back to the image. We could cut it and paste it on the top. As this will be an absolute element, so we want to keep it with the other absolute elements, then triangles. So we can say class name, absolute, top dash 40 pixels, h dash say 90%, w dash 90%. Then what we could say is style left 10%, like this. Now, as you can see, this is absolutely massive. It is covering essentially 90% of the screen, which we most definitely do not want. So we can say 40% and 40%, still too big, 20, 20, and this seems quite decent. Although we can make this something like 5%, not 10. And make the top 30 pixels instead of 40. Or even 25. This looks good. Now, what we can do is add the nav links. over here, or whatever you like, it doesn't particularly matter. We can add an h1 saying, or actually I'd rather add a div to make it better. So class name flex dash arrow gap dash, say 80 pixels for now. We might change that. Text dash white text dash 25 pixels. And we can say h1 home, h1 product, h1 about. Also, we could go over here and say items dash center. This will center them on like this. What we could do is make this gap larger. So for example, 100 pixels, or even larger, for example, 130 pixels, or 150, something like this. So now these nav links are centered over these peaks. We could also add class name and cursor dash pointer, and just copy this to all of these h1s. So now the button turns like this when we hover over them. This is essentially the navbar done. Next, we'll move on to the big section, the hero section. First thing we'll do is make some imports. So import particles from /assets/particles.jpg and import AI from /assets/ai.png. Next, we'll remove this text and add our usual parallax effect. So bg-fixed, bg-center, bg-cover. Then style, background, image, URL, and particles. If we go back over here, we should ideally see the image after we add this div. So class name h-600 pixels. And yes, we now do see the particles image. Next thing we'll do is add another image inside of here. img source AI class name w-38%, like this. Also, in this div, we can say flex dash arrow h1 class name text dash 70 pixels text dash white, and a text of whatever you like, but I'll say join us now. We'll also need to move it because currently it's not in the best position. So over here we can say gap dash maybe 400 pixels at the very least. And over here we can say margin top dash 20 to move the text slightly down. So yeah, this is essentially our hero section. Quite quick and simple, but looks good. What we'll do next is move on to the left and right details. First of all, we'll go to app.jsx and surround them in a div. In here, we can say class name bg-gradient dash 2 dash b from dash black via blue dash 500 to dash black and h dash 1000 pixels. And as you can see, we get this cool gradient effect. In here, we can go to the left details and start adding some stuff. First of all, we'll import the blue circle from /assets/blue circle.jpg. And next, we'll go over here, remove left details. Here, say class name. For now, actually, no class names. For this one, we'll simply keep this one as a wrapper div and make another div in which we'll make most of the stuff. So we can say class name flex dash row justify dash center. And here we'll add an image, img. The source will be blue circle and a class name of h dash, say 20%, w dash 20%, like this. As you can see, now we have this blue circle. We can also say padding top dash 20, for example, like this. Now, what we could do is add some text. So p class name text dash white text dash 22 pixels. And we could say hello from web chain dev. This is a video of a website. So I'm simply adding some random text. Next thing we're going to do is make a width for this. First of all, we'll make a margin left of 8 to separate these things. Slight margin top of 2, for example, to make it go slightly down. And we'll have to make a max dash w dash, say 400 pixels. This will limit this paragraph, so it can never go over this limit. So you can't just go infinitely to the edge of the screen and beyond, which we definitely don't want. So this is essentially our left details. Right details will be very, very similar. So we can actually copy all of this, move into right details, and paste. And what we simply do is do like this instead of margin left dash 8, margin right dash 8, because the text is now located in a different part. Also, we import the image that we need, tech lines in this case. Tech lines from $assets/techlines.jpg. And over here we say tech lines. And as you can see, now we have the image. But we'll change this part because this image seems overly small, and this one as well. So instead of 4, we could say 40% instead of 20. This will make the image significantly better and bigger. We could also go to our left details and make this image bigger, starting with 30%, as this image does seem bigger than the right details one. And as you can see, this worked. One thing we're going to do is make this section larger. So we can go app.jsx and say 1300 pixels, for example, or 1200. And now we have these cool two sections. What we could also do is move them, one of them slightly to the left and the other to the right. So for this, we'll go to left details and say padding right dash 20. Let's see what this gives us. Precisely what we want. Or rather, we could say padding right dash 20, and in the right details, say padding left dash 20, achieving the exact same effect. Padding left dash 20. And now we have this. Two sections perfectly aligning and looking quite good. Now we only have one part left, the footer. Off screen, I've added some text to these sections, and now we can continue on to our footer. The footer will use a similar design to the navbar, at least with the triangles. So, first of all, we can go over here, say class name, h-400 pixels, w-screen, bg-black. Next, we can go into our navbar and copy one of these sections, the upside down ones. Back in the footer, we can paste them, and over here change it to, let's say, 1990 pixels. This should be pretty much perfect. Even if it isn't, we can't exactly see because this background merges into this one, which is really good. Here, we can change the height to 170 pixels, and this should be good for now. We'll also add another triangle, which will be style, right 20%, and we'll remove all of these positioning ones because they're completely useless in this case. We don't need them. We'll add some opacity, so opacity -70, and simply actually we'll make this smaller, so we can say 150, 220, and 220. So only the big one will be actually big, the other ones will be significantly smaller. So we can copy this and simply change the right to left, mirroring the triangle. Now we can add another one with opacity of 50 and left of 10%. The size will be the same. Copying this, we simply change the left to the right. And now we should have our triangle design like this. Finally, we can add our logo and the name. So over here we can say img source React. We'll also have to import this image, import React from /assets/react.svg. And we can say class name, absolute, top dash 2200 pixels. We can also copy all of this from the middle triangle and add it over here. This will center this image. Also, we can make it bigger. So say 20%. We can experiment with the heights now and width. Probably 21%, slightly bigger, and move it slightly down. So 2230. Up top, we'll add some text. H1 saying web chain dev. Here we'll have a class name of text-white, text-30 pixels, and text-semi-bold. Also, in our wrapper div, we can say flex justify-center items-center. And now we have this sign. We can also put it slightly to the top, so we can say margin bottom -3. And now we're essentially done with our website. We've added the navbar, with these triangles. We've added the hero with the parallax effect and an image and text overlaying over it. We added these info sections where you can write your own text and put your own images. And we've added a short footer. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.